channel and happy Sunday! Today I'm coming at you with a book video because I've done a couple of fashion videos and I've also done a lot of reading recently. I actually downloaded an app called Moment, which I think my friend Emma Gannon mentioned somewhere. Anyway, this app is amazing. It kind of tells you how long or often you use your phone in a day. And I downloaded it last week and it really shocked me into realising how much I use my phone, because I didn't really realize. I know I used it a lot, I know I picked it up a lot when I was on the train, and looking at the breakdown of how many minutes and how quickly in between those minutes I picked it up, I was like, damn, if I had that extra 3 hours in a day, think how much I could get done. And I know that's obvious for a lot of things, and you do think, you know, if I didn't use my phone I could get more done, but it really made me realise that in my downtime moments when I'm on a train or in bed, I could really tackle some good books, and that is exactly what I've done over the last few days. I've knuckled into my reading list and I thought I would share some of the books I've read recently, the ones that are on my reading list, and some magazines I've picked up. I want to suggest some good reads because these are some things I've really been loving, and yeah, everyone loves sharing, so let's get going. The first book I'm going to talk to you about really briefly, I don't actually have here because I've lent it to my nan. That is Inside Vogue by Alexandra Shulman. That book is one of my favourite books that I've read recently. I don't have it here, but I have written a really in-depth, well, not that in-depth, but a book review on my blog, so if you do want a little bit more detail on it, I'm not going to do any spoilers, but I will pop the link in the description so you can head on over. But in short, it's a diary of the centenary issue of Vogue and the year in the life of Alexandra Shulman, which is really interesting. It really made me look at the way the magazine is produced quite differently. I kind of think, especially with blogs as well, you don't necessarily see the work that goes on behind the scenes and what comes, you know, what makes something come to fruition. So it's really fascinating to kind of see the steps and all these little insider bits of information. You think, God, I didn't even think about that. I didn't even realise that would have to be approved, so that could happen. And it's really interesting. It really kind of opened my eyes, even as someone who considers themselves relatively clued up on the industry, without being, you know, Billy Big Balls over here like I know the industry, because I don't, but it is just really interesting, so I really recommend that as a first read. The next book I'm going to talk to you about is this one, which is How to Be a Grown-Up by Daisy Buchanan. This is one of my favourite books at the moment. I've not quite finished it. I am about 3/4 of the way through, and I started it a couple of weeks ago and I am bloody obsessed with it. There's so many things in here that I was kind of like little mini light bulb moments. I was like, oh my god, and I actually kind of embarrassingly took to it with a pencil and underlined lots of things that I thought were really interesting, or like quotes I think, that would look nice with a pink background on Pinterest. It kind of makes you think about things. I'll read you a couple. It was in regards to your career, especially creative careers, and it said, you must make sure that you keep admiring the view and acknowledging how far you've come if you want to keep going. There isn't a peak. If you're creative or ambitious or a bit of a perfectionist, you'll never reach the top, and the journey will never make you happy unless you learn to love the climb itself. Which I thought was really interesting, especially as someone who's constantly striving for the next thing. It is important to appreciate all the little steps, because there isn't necessarily a top position, like in a company perhaps you're never going to be, you know, the biggest. So it's quite interesting, and this was another thing she said actually about your career in life, or your path in life, because I didn't go to university. It often was a point of comparison for me because I never thought there were these dedicated points in my life that I had. And she said, I chose an entirely different working path, and one of the consequences of that choice was that my career goals weren't so clearly defined. There was no specific certificate or set of letters after my name that I could write a Facebook post about and underline with a row of party hat emojis. I felt like a failure because I didn't have anything that significant to define myself by. And there's lots of points of wisdom like that in this book that really made me think about things in a different perspective, and it's so good. It is laugh out loud funny, and she's just an incredible writer. I'd love to be able to write something like this because her tone of voice is incredible, but I absolutely love it. I really recommend it if you're in your 20s and you just want a really great read, something that's going to make you laugh and enlighten you in parts, so absolutely love this. The next book I'm going to be talking about is The Curated Closet, which is by Anushka Rees. This book is a really useful resource in terms of creating a personal style, organising your wardrobe, organising your life, and I absolutely love it. I saw Anna from the Anna Edit posted about this and it's amazing. It's kind of, it reminds me a little bit of the book my mum had by Trini and Susanna, albeit a lot more helpful. Not as weird. I look back on that, I saw some things on Twitter about that recently, I was like, god, that was a weird book. But this is genuinely useful. It's got so many points about basic pieces, setting priorities in your wardrobe, how to build a wardrobe that fits your life and not your fantasy life. Like, just everything in it is so interesting and like comprehensive. Honestly, it's such a fantastic guide if you're a bit of a fork in the road with your style and your wardrobe, this is a really great resource, and I've really enjoyed reading this. The next book I'm going to be talking about is a book by Angela Hicks, and it's called Tongue in Chic. This is a book of loads of her fashion illustrations with amazing kind of puns and play on words for everything. Like Don't Be a Rebel Without a Cause, with a Michael Kors bag. Just so many things that you kind of have to see them to find them funny. I won't try and explain them all because that definitely minimises the humour. But it's a really great gift book. I'd love to, there's a lot of friends I know would really appreciate this. I just really love it. I think it's great. She's so talented, and this is a really funny book. One more book that I picked up a couple of months ago is called Don't Read This Book: Time Management for Creative People, and I saw this when I was in Manchester with Joe, and obviously naturally picked up, so I'm like, ooh, I'm creative, I don't have a lot of time on my hands. And do you know what, it's really good. I haven't loved all of it, but there are a lot of things that I did like about kind of time management for organising yourself and working from home. There's a couple of things about the fear of missing out and actually how that's really a good thing, about when you're on holiday, phone usage. And I don't know, it's got quite a few helpful tips in there, so if you are struggling with, you know, time management, working from home, it is quite cool. It's got some good pointers. Some of it was a bit like, meh. But I have enjoyed looking through it and trying to work out, you know, where I can save time, where I can use my time more efficiently, especially when juggling the very fine line between work and, you know, pleasure. I also thought I would show you some of the things that are on my reading list, so things that are sitting next to my bed, ready to be tackled, because I haven't had time to read them yet, but I don't know, thought it might be quite nice if perhaps someone else wanted to pick them up, we could read along together. I don't know, maybe a book club. Speaking of book clubs, the first thing on my reading list is actually Sweet Bitter. This is by Stephanie Danler, and this was recommended by my friend Lucy Williams, who writes the blog Fashion Me Now. She has a book club, which is where this all ties in. And this was not last month's recommended reading. I actually tried to pick it up in a bookshop. I didn't want to go to Amazon. I was like, no, I'm going to find it in a bookshop. Could not find it for love nor money, so I actually ordered it online. And it came a little bit late towards the end of the month, so I couldn't really join in on time, plus I was reading something else. But I have picked this up. It sounds like a really good read. I'm definitely going to read it and then go back to her book club and then see what other people thought. I've picked it up, really excited to read it, and will let you know how I get on. The next one is, of course, Ice Cream for Breakfast, written by the wonderful Laura Jane Williams. Laura is a fantastic writer. Her first book, Becoming, which, you know, can you see on my shelf? It's just here. She's just got such a knack for storytelling, and I'm so excited to get tucked into this. It's about rediscovering your inner child and how that can make you calmer, happier, and solve your bullshit adult problems. So I'm very excited to get into that. Also, not that it comes down to it, but the cover's also beautiful, and yeah, I will let you know how I get on with that one too. Last but not least, I'm going to move on to a few magazines I've picked up recently. I am an absolute magazine fiend. I find it incredibly difficult to get rid of magazines. I have ones on my shelf behind me that I've had since about 2008. Even some earlier than that, like NMEs I've got under my bed. I've got a box filled with NME magazines. I find it really challenging to part with them. When Joe and I went to Bath recently, we went into an amazing magazine shop called Megaleria, I think, and it was absolutely fantastic. The man in there knew everything about magazines. Like, it is what I aspire to be one day in life, but you could walk in and you could ask him anything. You could say, like, what is the best magazine for an interest in witchcraft? And he'd be like, oh, it's this one. He was speaking to me, and I actually bought some because how could I not? And the first one, I'd never heard of this magazine, and it's called Tidal. I mean, primarily the reason I picked it up was the photography inside, because it is absolutely stunning. Like, the editorials in here, the interviews, just even the way it's laid out is absolutely beautiful. They weren't cheap. This kind of thing is normally about £8 to £14, somewhere in that wide old bracket, but I do think with things like this you do get what you pay for, and it's stunning, it's so beautiful, and I'm absolutely thrilled with them. And I also picked up Darling magazine, which I had heard of before, but I've never actually read, so again, that's another one with beautiful photography and features, and I'm really keen to get reading. A couple of other magazines that I've picked up recently that I do love already are Violet. I love Violet magazine. It's one of my favourite reads. I will always pick it up, and this month, apart from having the most stunning cover, it had a really beautiful feature about families, and also an interview with a photographer I really like, Lena, I can never say her name, Lena Shanius, I think that's how you say it, who's a Swedish photographer who actually spoke about when I did photography A-level. I loved her, and she's featured in this as well, which was really exciting. It's just a really beautiful magazine. It's such a collector's piece, I think. It's the kind of thing you can just, I would never want to get rid of this, but absolutely love that. The last one is Sunday Girl magazine. This magazine is really cool. It's a fashion magazine for intellectual girls, which doesn't feel like a very modest thing to say, like, well, I can read it because I'm smart, but it's absolutely beautiful. The photography is so cool in it. It's really playful. It's got some really cool features with really cool women. It's got a little comic strip. It's got great fashion, and it's just, I don't know, I just absolutely love the concept of this. I love the fact it introduces you to other cool women. And it's just really, really lovely. It feels like a journal, or like, it's kind of got that zine-y feel as well. Absolutely love this. And that is that. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Doing that then made me realise how large these sleeves are. I feel like I'm one loop away from being Henry VIII. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed this video and hopefully found some new reading material. Let me know if you've picked any of them up, if you've enjoyed them, what you thought, and also let me know if you have any good book recommendations. I'm constantly on the lookout for new books, magazines, definitely magazines, not that I have the space, and have a great week, and I'll see you next time.